Inflation expected to have slowed further in October. Let's get a figure straight from the PSA headquarters in Quezon City.
Primarily due to the annual drop in the index of the heavily weighted food and non-alcoholic beverages, contributing to the slower inflation in October 2019 were the annual decreases in the indices of the following food groups. Rice, negative 9.7% from negative 8.9%. Corn, negative 3.9% from negative 4.1%. Vegetables, negative 0.8% from negative 4.7%. And sugar, jam, honey, chocolate, and confectionery, negative 4.3% from negative 4.1%. For vegetables, cabbage, carrot, and onion exhibited annual declines. In addition, a slower annual hike of 0.8% was observed in the indices of fish and oils and fats from their respective annual rates in September 2019 at 1.4% and 1.2%. The slowdown of the October 2019 inflation was also brought about by the annual decline in transport index. The annual rates observed in petroleum and fuels for personal transport equipment further decreased by 10% in October 2019, from 8.1% decrease in September 2019. Moreover, domestic airfare showed a 13.4% decrease in October 2019 from 9.5% decrease in September 2019. The index of housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels also contributed to the downward trend of the October 2019 inflation, particularly for the following items. Electricity, negative 5.4% from negative 5.8%. LPG, negative 10.6% from negative 11.1%. And kerosene, negative 9.9% from negative 7%. Among the 11 major commodity groups, inflation for restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services remained the top contributor for the October 2019 inflation. The annual rate of this commodity group was recorded at 2.9%, and its percent share to the overall inflation was 50.2%. Specifically, the items that primarily contributed to the October 2019 inflation of restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services were the following. Meals eaten outside the home, 3.1% inflation and 68.3% share. Personal care, 2.6% inflation and 27.1% share. And personal effects, 2.0% inflation and 3.1% share. The second commodity group that largely contributed to the overall inflation was alcoholic beverages and tobacco, which posted 16.5% inflation and a share of 35.9% to the overall inflation. Major contributors to the October 2019 inflation of alcoholic beverages and tobacco were the following. Cigarettes, 22.1% inflation and 89.4% share. Beer, 3.3% inflation and 4.1% share. And brandy, 2.8% inflation and 1.8% share. The third major contributor to the overall inflation was education, which had a 4.6% inflation and 20.7% share to the overall inflation in October 2019. Specific items that contributed to the October 2019 inflation of education were the following. Private tertiary education services, 4.1% inflation. and 40% share. Private secondary education services, 5.6% inflation and 26% share. And private primary education services, 5.4% inflation and 21% share. By commodity group, the annual rate of transport index declined further by 1.7% in October 2019. Moreover, slower annual increments were noted in the following commodity groups: housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels, 0.6%. Furnishing, household equipment, and routine maintenance of the house, 2.7%. And health and restaurant and miscellaneous goods and services, both at 2.9%. On the contrary, annual increases were higher in the indices of alcoholic beverages and tobacco at 16.5%. Also, clothing and footwear at 2.8%. Meanwhile, the following commodity groups retained their September 2019 annual rates: food and non-alcoholic beverages, minus 0.9%, communication, 0.2%, recreation and culture, 1.4%, education, 4.6%. In the National Capital Region, however, inflation was higher at 1.3% in October 2019. Inflation in the area in September 2019 was posted at 0.9%, and in October 2018 at 6.1%. The uptrend in the October 2019 inflation in the National Capital Region was brought about by higher annual increment in the index of food and non-alcoholic beverages. Faster annual increases were noted in meat, specifically chicken, in fruits such as apple, watermelon, and mango, and vegetables, particularly ampalaya, leaves, garlic, and onion. Following the same trend of the national level, inflation in areas outside the National Capital Region decelerated further to 0.7% in October 2019. In September 2019, its inflation was observed at 0.9%, and in October 2018 at 6.8%. Among the regions and areas outside the National Capital Region, the highest annual growth rate of 2.3% was observed in Region 3, Central Luzon. In September 2019, inflation was recorded at 2.1%. The upward movement in the inflation for October 2019 in Region 3 was mainly due to higher annual rate observed in the index of food and non-alcoholic beverages, specifically meat, such as chicken and beef, fish like tilapia, galunggong, and dilis, and eggs. The lowest annual rate of minus 1.3% was still recorded in Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula. It was the same rate recorded in September 2019. 12 regions in areas outside the National Capital Region either had negative or lower annual rates in October 2019. Meanwhile, 4 regions registered higher annual rates in October 2019 relative to their annual growths in September 2019. This ends my presentation on the inflation in the Philippines for October 2019. Before I say thank you, we enjoin all of you to participate in the upcoming 2020 Census of Population and Housing. This is a very important activity. We will conduct this in May 2020, and we hope you will welcome our enumerators. The Philippine Statistics Authority appreciates your presence in October 2019 Inflation Press Briefing, and we look forward to meeting you again on December 5, 2019, when we report the inflation for November 2019. Thank you. Good morning.